to order. I'm going to ask the city clerk to give the roll call. Madam City Clerk.
All right, good evening. Mayor Pro Tem Hoffman Gorman.
Here.
Councilmember Cuevas.
Here.
Councilmember Suarez.
Here.
Councilmember Kearney.
Here.
Mayor Poland Miles.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you, Madam. Let's have our Pledge of Allegiance by Mayor Pro Tem Hoffman Gorman, and Pastor Jimmy Ariana from Calvary Chapel will lead us in a word of inspiration.
Please place your right hand over your heart and recite along with me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Again, thank you for having us here tonight. The word of the Lord says in Psalms 121, verse 1, I will lift up my eyes to the hills. From whence comes my help? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Father, we come before you tonight, and we want to ask that you would continue to be with the city of Lawndale. God, we thank you for the city council that is before me here tonight, and I pray just that little reminder for them when they have their agenda and they're discussing, Lord, and when things might get a little tricky for them. I pray that they would be reminded to look upward. For when we look upward, our help comes from you. God, we thank you for the past couple of years, how you've been faithful, how you continue to be faithful, going before them every step of the way with their projects and everything that they have on their agenda. God, we ask that you would continue to help them. Lord, for you say in your word that you are our very present help in time of need and in time of trouble. And Lord, we also pray for the future, for what you hold in store for this great city. God, we pray that the desires of every council member here today, the desire of the people, Lord, to have a prosperous city, a city that would be shining. Lord, I pray that you would help them to accomplish all that they would have for your honor and for your glory. And Lord, as we wrap up tonight and we close up in prayer, a special request tomorrow for Election Day, that you would just continue to keep this city safe, our country safe, God, and we ask not our will, but your perfect will to be done. Once again, thank you for this time. We give the city council meeting to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let's have an announcement from our city clerk's department, our assistant city clerk with the announcement.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Yvette Hall, Assistant City Clerk. This is a friendly reminder that tomorrow, Tuesday, November 8th, is Election Day. If you would like to vote in person, you may visit Jane Addams Middle School from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., located at 4535 West 153rd Place, Lawndale. However, please note that the vote center is located in the gym off of Fremona Avenue. You may also drop off your ballot at the 24-hour secure ballot drop-off box located at Hogan Park, 16605 Osage Avenue from now until 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 8th. For further information, please visit the County Registrar's website at lavote.gov or contact the City Clerk's Department at 310-973-3213. Thank you.
Thank you for that announcement. Let's have our public safety report. Let's hear from our sheriff's department.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Lieutenant Salgado, I'm here tonight to present the public safety report for October 24th, 2022 through November 7th, 2022. On October 26th at approximately 0032 hours, Deputy Sanchez responded to a call of an assault with a deadly weapon. During the investigation, he located and detained a female suspect who struck the victim several times with a kitchen knife. The victim suffered 3 lacerations to the side of the head and was treated at the scene by medical personnel. The suspect was not a Lawndale resident. The suspect was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon and booked at South Los Angeles Sheriff Station. On October 27th, at approximately 10:27 hours, Deputy Lopez conducted a traffic stop of a bicyclist on Mansell Avenue and Marine Avenue. During his investigation, he recovered several bundles of crystal meth from the suspect. The suspect is a resident of Lawndale. He was arrested for possession of controlled substance and booked at South Los Angeles Sheriff Station. On October 30th, at approximately 10:04 hours, Deputy Hovannesian stopped a vehicle for CVC violations at 14814 Hawthorne Boulevard. During his investigation, he located a bundle of cocaine along with a loaded firearm from the suspect's vehicle. The suspect is not a resident of Lawndale. He was arrested for possession of a loaded firearm while possessing narcotics. He was booked at South Los Angeles Sheriff Station. The Sheriff's Department received several complaints about vehicles speeding down 147th Street in Lawndale. Our motor deputy, Rodriguez, did a traffic enforcement and cited 24 vehicles for various vehicle code violations on that street. And this was last week. Robberies, we had 1 robbery, assault 6, burglaries 10, grand theft auto 18, thefts from vehicles 15, and shoplifting 18. There were 301 calls for service that we received, and there was 305 observations made by deputies. So a total of 606, which would be considered calls. And that is going to conclude the report. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Okay, thank you for the report. Mayor Pro Tem?
The first question I have is, do you have the statistic on the loud mufflers? That we had such a good response, and then I want to say congratulations on the 147. I appreciate seeing that difference in that area that seems to be a
Okay.
problem.
The statistics I do not have for the loud muffler.
I
Right.
would like to keep on top of that.
You want to keep on top of it?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So we'll keep track of the loud muffler citations or any enforcement that we do on that and update you on it.
And then one other thing, and this kind of piggybacks on Councilwoman Cuevas when she suggested that we have an idea of how many things are written in between council meetings. Is there any way that we can get a timeline and for example, there's been a hit and run in the city of Lawndale.
Sure.
Is there a way that we can get a timeline as to the processes that an investigation has to go to? Like, this segment takes a day for this to happen, or this segment is about this long. And the reason I'm asking for that, prior to you being here, our property was hit by a hit and run, and 3 of my neighbors' cars were damaged.
Okay.
And I would just like to know, so in the future, when these kind of things happen, how long is it taking to get through so that we can start getting answers? Is the lead time I'm always astounded at, only because it gives that person that got away more time to figure out how they're going to cover their tracks. And that's my concern and what I'm hearing from the residents.
Okay. I can give you more information on that, but just to touch bases on it, it's going to vary. For example, hit and run, you have a vehicle that hits 1, 2, 3 cars and takes off. It's all going to depend on what evidence we're going to collect, what information we have to do the follow-up, right? So that a deputy responds to the scene, looks for the evidence, collects information, witnesses, writes a report, turns the report in. The report is processed. Once the report is processed, it's handed over to a detective, okay? And it depends what type of crime we have, how long it's going to take, right? So if it's workable information that you can continue the investigation, a detective is going to be assigned right away. If there's not that much workable information, it's going to take some time. It's going to go through the process, which may take a couple of days, 3 days.
Okay, that's what
before
I'm
it gets-
looking for is,
So we can
that
try to
first
get you a
step-
timeline, but it's not going to be specific, it has to be specific to an incident. It's not going to be for every incident, right? For example, I can give you a scenario. I'm working a couple nights ago, right? If I have an assault with a deadly weapon, I have 2 people in custody, it's going to require for me to collect evidence from the location. I have to call, which is an on-call detective. I call him in, and they start authoring a search warrant to recover items of evidentiary value for that case. So that case continues on from the call for service, because we have people in custody, and then we have evidentiary items that we have to collect. So that investigation has to continue on. And that detective now is there present, writes the search warrant, interviews the suspects, and puts the case together to present it to the district attorney in 48 hours, right? If I don't have someone in custody, then the time frame is going to vary, right? And it varies on the information we have. For example, that hit and run, I believe it was a vehicle that came back to an address in LA somewhere. So now they have to start looking at that with DMV, find out who owns the vehicle, who does the vehicle come back to, were there any witnesses that gave any information as to who was driving the vehicle, and then they can continue working that case. They may have some results, they may not. In that case, if there's no evidentiary information that comes out, no witnesses, that case is going to sit there until we develop or get a witness that comes forward and says, hey, I know who hit that car last week. The detective will grab that file and then continue that investigation from there. But it could come to an end at some point because it led us nowhere, right? So each case is going to be different, but the timelines are going to be different.
I guess what my concern is though too is, in this particular case, it happened at midnight. And the car was damaged enough that they lost a bumper, and so they went down the street and actually had to take the bumper off of their car, which gave a neighbor time enough to get a license plate. But I said to the victims tonight, go to your neighbors, go to the businesses on the corner, let's start collecting any type of camera, ring, anything that your neighbors have so that we can know what time and who this is, and
Right.
and have the picture of what you tell me the vehicle looks like to aid you guys.
Correct.
But I worry about the person in Lawndale that occurs and they don't get that information, and you don't get that information, and
Right.
that's lost.
And I agree. What we do have to do is inform the public as well that if they do have information, to give us a call. That would assist us. And the deputy responds to the call, they're only limited to a certain amount of investigation that they can do at that time because of the time frame that they have. They might be at that call for service, and then you get another emergent call for service. Right after that, they have to respond, let's say a baby not breathing call or someone needing rescue. So they have to leave that investigation to go to the next one. And if there's nothing else, for them to go to each neighbor and knock on the doors, do you have cameras? It makes that call for service, an hour, hour and a half, and now we're making the rest of the calls for service, they're going to be delayed. So there's only so much a field deputy can do. Now, if they do have workable information, then they pass it on to us, and we request additional units or a detective so we can get out there and continue that investigation. But it's a case-by-case basis. If it makes any sense to you that way. But I can try to give you a time frame of certain cases, how long it takes, what the process is, but it's not going to be specific to a particular case, just a general time frame. Because you might be able to solve something like that hit and run by the next day, or you might not be able to solve it at all, depending on the evidence, depending on witnesses that come forward. But I can definitely do some
Thank you.
follow-up on it and get back to you.
Any
on
other
it.
questions? Yes, ma'am.
I would like to thank you for the information that you provided. I hope that the motor officer is not just a one-time on that street. We also need it on a couple of other streets, but believe me, neighbors were talking about it.
No, but let us know where the problems are so we can direct them. If we don't know about it, the mortars he's gonna pick and choose where he sees or where the day takes him, right, to do his enforcement. But if there's a particular area, I'll let myself know or let Sergeant Osborne know what the areas are so we can assign the mortar unit to that area, And most of the time, if it's during the daytime, it's the important is the schools, traffic during school, after school. That's an important area for traffic enforcement.
Are they able to be scheduled in the evening now that it's getting dark and the after-school program, the kids are walking home in the dark? Are they able to be scheduled maybe from 4 p.m. till 7? 'Cause
We can
right now,
address,
that's the
we can
time.
address whatever time frame your concerns are,
Okay,
right?
thank you.
Real quick, Lieutenant, do you think we'll have a drop in catalytic converter theft, given the latest information about the international, I believe it's international, bus that they had in Sacramento and Tulsa? Apparently, these things are more
We're
locally,
not going to have,
international.
right, we would have more local stats. I can look into that as well. I normally work, Sunday through Tuesday here at the station. I hear the calls for service. I see the calls for service that go out. I really haven't seen that many catalytic converter thefts. Based on the thefts from vehicle parts, there were 3. So that could be the catalytic converters, not specific,
Okay.
but 3 for that 2-week period. I believe it's going down because it's more difficult for them to get to and the laws are going to be stricter, right? If you are stealing the catalytic converters, they're going to punish you now, so,
Okay.
they will go down eventually.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Okay, Lieutenant, thank you
All
for
right,
your report.
thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Let's hear from Los Angeles County Fire Department.
Good evening,
Chief,
Mayor
welcome.
Polo Miles, council members. Battalion Chief Ramon Valdori with LA County Fire Department. I'm here to provide the statistics for incidents that required fire department responses for the month of October. Total calls that our fire department responded to in the city of Lawndale was 196 calls. Of those calls, 144 of those calls were basic life support or ALS, that required ALS life support. 52 of those calls were included smoke investigations that had no merit, wires down, or they were false alarms. No fires reported in the month of October, and there were no citizens displaced.
Okay. Any
Any
questions?
questions?
on the report? Thank you, Chief.
Thank
for that
you.
report. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Next item is oral communications. Oral communications, when you have the opportunity to speak to this body, being either the Lawndale City Council or the Lawndale Public Financing Authority. If you would like to speak to either bodies, we ask you to line up by the flag. When it becomes your turn, if you would come to the podium, if you would start with your name first, we would appreciate that. At about 2.5 minutes, the amber light will come on to give you the signal to start wrapping things up. Let's have our first speaker. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Matthew Harbison, representing the Lawndale Wesleyan Church. I just wanted to say thank you to the council and to Mike Estes and the staff for putting on a wonderful Halloween event that we had and for inviting organizations in the community to come and be a part of it. Our church was able to have a booth there. We passed out over 2,000 pieces of candy. Now, some kids probably got 2. I can't say there were 2,000 kids, but we had over 2,000 candy, and it was gone when we left. And so it was just a chance for us to be out in the community and for people to be in a safe place. I think the city did a really good job on putting it together, keeping it up, and making sure that we still had it. With COVID and other things that had happened in the past, there was a pause, or it wasn't as big, but this year I think we had a really good showing, and I just wanted to commend you for having it, thanking you for being able to allow us to be a part of it, and Mike, for your staff and everyone who's been putting things together on that. So I just want to say thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, at the last council meeting, Honorable Chairwoman Chavez brought up the eyesore at Hawthorne Boulevard and Manhattan Beach Boulevard. For the record, that's the southwest corner of that intersection. There used to be a hardware store decades ago there, which was demolished. The city has owned that property and adjacent properties for decades. And unfortunately, the city doesn't play by the same rules that it enforces on the residential properties, i.e., the property was used for selling fireworks, pumpkins, and Christmas trees. Now, in between these times, the lots were allowed to grow head high with weeds, and then they would be bladed off for the, I guess, the rental income that they could get. But this is very, in my opinion, disgraceful. It is extremely hypocritical to the residents of Lawndale. And of course, this ongoing eyesore absolutely needs to be dealt with. What I would suggest to council is that you amend or make a new ordinance which says effectively that all commercial lots that are vacant must be screened by a 6-foot-high solid fence of some nature, so that we don't have to look at this monstrosity. Like I said, it's been ongoing for decades. And it's hypocrisy that we have this and then the residents are harassed if their grass gets over 8 inches high or something. It's just ridiculous. Second item I would like to bring to the council's attention, based on information provided to me, I contacted Roberto, I can't pronounce his last name, with Caltrans. I attempted to contact him. I've left multiple messages for him. He has failed or basically refused to return my calls. I have a solution to at least mitigate and hopefully resolve the homeless encampments, which currently at Manhattan Beach Boulevard, as you are going under the 405 overpass, it is an open dump. There's no chain, no lock. People walk in and out free will. There's approximately 10 50-gallon plastic bags of trash that are scattered all over the area.
30
If we
seconds.
were to get Caltrans to erect a solid barrier, at least we don't have to look at this. If it's properly secured, it will slow down, if not stop, entry from this point. Since I'm not getting any response from Caltrans directly, I would ask for an high-ranking official with the city to contact and pursue this. One additional item on that I would suggest to the city is this is a liability for the city. I know it's Caltrans controlled, but if the
Time's
city
expired.
allows this to continue and somebody gets killed or catches a terminal disease or something,
Go ahead and wrap it up for me.
I personally feel that the city is liable.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for those comments. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilmen. I have just a little concern about property over here on Burin Avenue. I'm pretty sure that you guys know when I'm talking of this property. It is right in the corner next to the, when you guys make a left to come to work every morning, you can see the property on your right hand. It's empty. It's been empty for more than a year. It's been full of trash, rats, and you name it. And I see that nobody's been doing nothing about it. So I don't know if it's the city responsibility to take care of it or the owner. So that's my concern. So I appreciate it for you guys looking into it and take care of it. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Excuse me, sir. Can you give us your name? You didn't give us your name. Alfonso? Yes. Alfonso. Thank you, Mr. Alfonso. 150. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Michelle Pina from Lawndale Library. Hello and good evening to everyone. I'm here to make a few program announcements. We are offering story time for children ages 2 to 5 on Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. We'd also like to invite the community to attend our family night on Tuesday, November 15th from 5 to 6. And you can join us for fun night for games, coloring, and entertainment, and learn how to use our resources. On Saturdays, we also have our creation station. We invite you all to drop in at any time to join us to an open-ended crafting, and we provide all the craft materials. All you need to do is bring your imagination. For teens, on Thursday, November 10th, we want to invite all teens to join us for our hangout hour. We will have board games and fun activities. We'd also like to invite our teens to join our Teen Advisory Board. This is going to take place on Thursday, November 17, 4 to 5, and we encourage teens to get involved at the library and help shape the future of teen activities and collections at Lawndale Library. We also have for adults our Lawndale Book Club, and this is going to take place this Thursday at 10:30. And lastly, we would like to invite all adults in the community to be part of this, our Lawndale Gardening Club. And this month, the meetings will be on, this past Saturday, we had one November 5th, and the next one will be November 12th at 10:30. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Dina, Lawndale resident, real quick. Councilwoman Cuevas, remember when you mentioned at 147th and Kingsdale how uneven it is right there at that stop sign? That was like 3 or 4 meetings ago, and it's still not, it's not been fixed. And it is an issue, so come on, people, let's get this fixed. That was a long time ago. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll close public comment and bring it up to the diocese for any comments from the council. Let's hear
So I'm
from-
first, you're saying, okay.
Let's hear from Councilman.
Well,
Patrick.
Matthew,
Never mind
he
us.
left, but I want to add to that. Mike, you did a fantastic job. I'm surprised to see that many people there that early. So I'm guessing Santa's sleigh will probably be will be humongous. But great job, Mike, with the staff you have. And piggyback on Matthew, Alfonso, it's on the corner of Marine and Buren? Correct. Michael, you know the address? It's right at the corner, you can't miss it.
I think we have an open
It's
case
like
on
a
that
jungle.
property. I'm aware of that property. I think we do have an open case on
Okay.
that.
And Ms. Librarian, thank you for the updates of the library. And Dina, what was the streets again? Okay, it's okay. Maybe we can have, where's our, no, Public Works. Public Works is here. We can check on that? Yes. Okay. And with that, I will, Gary, I remember Lawndale Lumber when it was there. And I remember it's been abandoned, but as you know, the city doesn't own that property no more. It's an independent developer owns it. So we'll contact them to see about the fencing, but I know what you're talking about, 6-foot fence, and you put that green fake astroturf on it. A month later, it's all ripped or graffitied, so I don't know if that's an answer or not. I'll pass it on to you, Robert.
Okay, Councilwoman Suarez.
I want to thank everybody that came out and spoke to us today. I think our Councilmember Kearney covered it pretty well. I will, however, task our Caltrans subcommittee to, and I know that's been something that's been requested, the maintenance and making sure it's secure. So I know you've been advocating, but just continuing to push that. Sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and with that, I'll pass it along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Cuevas.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out and speaking. What Dina is talking about is the corner when they did the street pavement. They forgot to do the corner pavement. I know that we are still trying to get them to come out and fix that if we could get an update later on that, that would be great. And Alfonso, we'll take a look. It's been in our radar, that property. It's just, okay? That will be all. Thank you.
Thank you. Hoffman Gorman, Madam Pro Tem.
It's always fun to hear positive words, so Matthew coming up and thanking the city really makes me happy, because it's nice sometimes to hear positive stuff. Unfortunately, I didn't get to attend the Halloween event, but I do know how much work that Mike goes through in planning an event. So thank you, Mike, for always being consistent and planning those events for us. You and your staff do an amazing job, and I, for one, want to congratulate you on a job well done. Gary, I think Pat already said to you about the southwest corner of Hawthorne not belonging to the city of Lawndale anymore. And yes, Lawndale Concrete was a long-standing business on that corner, and they have been gone for years. And yes, the city did own it, but Public Works is going to be helping you with that, it sounds like. The library, thank you for the update on everything that you had to say. And I think that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. I too want to thank everyone who came out today to share the comments, and we will bring that information back to Caltrans as well. But I particularly want to thank Matthew as well for showing his appreciation on behalf of the Wesleyan Church for the booth at Halloween Hunt, and in particular, a shout out to the staff and the volunteers, Mike Estes and his staff and the volunteers. You talked about a show that was the greatest show in town. It's the only show in town. I didn't get that. So when the Congresswoman Maxine Waters came, of course, she had the opportunity to visit several events that night, and she said ours was by far the biggest in terms of turnout. And so we had absolutely great turnout. I mean, people was everywhere with their children. It was really good to see all the kids out, the children out with their parents. Great entertainment. It was just a well-ran program. So I want to appreciate the staff as well as the volunteers and those who had a booth, because it was really nicely done, safe environment, and we're going to have to top that next year. Have to top that next year. And, yeah, including the haunted house, huh? We got some ideas. Okay, so I'm sure the haunted house might be back next year, right? From what I hear.
And we have workers.
Yeah. So the haunted house may be back. And that was without a haunted house,
Yeah.
right? So I just want to appreciate everyone for that. So that's my comment on that. I won't repeat some of the other comments because I do share what the other comments. You want me to talk about Caltrans?
Because I didn't say anything about Caltrans.
Okay, so you want me to talk about Caltrans? Well, so we continue to work with Caltrans. Of course, you know, Caltrans, I don't know what's going on with them for the last couple of weeks or what have you. I know the city manager's been in touch with Caltrans to get some of the properties, of course, abated. They were really on it for a while, but somehow there's been some movement.
Yes, Mayor and Council, good evening. Talked to Caltrans. They sent us an email a week or so ago. They've lost their cleanup contractor. I sent you guys a copy of that email. Unfortunately, they're having to use their landscapers, their maintenance landscapers, so it's taking a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And they're trying to, my understanding is they're trying to look for a new contractor to go in there. I guess they lost that contractor, and that's why it's building up. But we have been in contact with them weekly, almost weekly.
Yeah.
And they get back to us a week or two later and let us know that they're still working on it. But it is proliferating. We've asked them to put locks on there, create better barriers, and close off the area. But, you know, the folks that stay on that side of the 405 have bolt cutters, and they have different tools to get back there, even if we were to fence it off, which is probably a good idea with a block wall, they may still be able to get up under there because they can go up on the stairwells and get in all those areas.
So we're hopeful that they'll be back on track post-haste.
Hopefully, we'll ask them again.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, with that, we'll close public comments and comments from the council.
Robert, can I make one correction?
Yes, sir.
I think I said next month is Santa Sleigh. It's not, it's Angel Tree event. Santa Sleigh is coming afterwards.
That's true, you did say that.
I put the sleigh before the reindeers.
Right.
Yeah, but thank you.
Right, thank you for that correction. Okay, we're now on our consent calendar. Items 1 through 5. Let's do items 1 through 6. 2 of which is from the Lawndale Public Financing Authority. What is the pleasure of this body concerning such?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
So the motion's been made by Cuevas and second by Kearney that we approve the consent calendar for the Lawndale City Council and the Lawndale Public Financing Authority. Is there any discussion on the motion? Would the council please vote?
For the consent calendar and the Lawndale Public Finance Authority, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Next item is a public hearing for consideration of an ordinance number 1192-22, ... Let's have the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor Miles and City Council members. The item before you tonight is a consideration for ordinance 1192-22, which will be amending the Title 17 of the Lawndale Municipal Code to add regulations pertaining to citywide streamlining standards for electrical vehicle charging stations. The ordinances would make the Lawndale Municipal Code be consistent with state law regulation AB 970, which was actually adopted in 2021. However, due to its regulations only requiring cities with above 200,000 residents to adopt it prior to January 1st, 2022, we didn't have to adopt it until this upcoming year. And since our city is less than 200 residents, we are required to adopt a regulation, ordinance regulating the streamlining of electrical vehicles charging stations, which would be going into effect January 1st of 2023. So AB 970, which is the state regulation, it just requires to expedite residential and commercial EV charging stations. And in order to do that, we would have to adopt ordinance 1192-22. For additional details on the ordinance, we do have that information in the Community Development Department if you like more details on that. And then staff recommends that we conduct a public hearing and that we determine that ordinance number 1192-22 is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15378 and 15061 of the CEQA guidelines, and introduced for the first reading by title, the ordinance number 1192, an ordinance amending the Lawndale Municipal Code regarding EV charging stations to reflect recent changes in state law and to waive further reading. And that concludes staff report.
Okay, are there any technical questions of the staff?
I have a couple questions. One of my questions is, we have to allow for electronic submissions. How are we planning to implement that? Is it just email works, or?
At this time, we are allowing electronic submissions of electrical vehicle charging stations. We actually did migrate, or we are migrating to just getting electronic submittals for most of our site plan reviews. At this time, we're looking into also maybe migrating into taking the payments, but we don't have a way of taking the payments electronically at the moment.
Okay, and then the second question is, why would a site map plan be required for these? And is that something that we're implementing, or do other agencies also require that component?
So for residential, it's a straight building permit. If it's bigger than a certain amount of electrical charging stations for like commercial, so if it's more than like 25, or we would have to take a look at it with a site plan review to make sure that it's not taking away parking. And it would be something pretty easy. We still have to have it, deem it complete before 20 days. So we have to deem it complete before 5 days and then approve it in 20 days.
So
That would be the timeline.
Just to clarify, the residential does not require a site map plan, but the commercials do? Because I
Correct.
thought the application, I was looking at the different checklists,
Mhm.
and it, unless I missed that, but I thought that most of them required it, or maybe I'm, so only residential, like a single family, would not require a site map plan, but if it's a multi-unit, it would.
Yes, if it's like multifamily residential, then we would have to take a look at it. If it's commercial too, so if it's a certain amount of EV charging stations, yes, it would require a site plan review.
Okay, because all of the, see,
So if it's 2 or 3 units in one lot, they will have to?
It would just be for multifamily, so if you have like apartments where,
So
yeah, where you're taking away
over
parking
5.
spaces. Yeah,
But you don't take away parking, because you could have a charging unit. Let's say it's a 10-unit property, and out of those 10 units, nobody has one. You can still park in those, because your tenants don't have.
right, so it would just be on a case-by-case basis, because some of them have requirements for like guest parking spaces, or like if you have a condominium property where you're just doing it for that specific person, they just own that property, then it would just go for that specific person. But since there's various requirements in different developments, we would have to take a look at the conditions of each of those multifamily regulated.
Have we decided if it's over 10 apartments or 15 apartments, is there a limit of units?
It would have to be on a case-by-case basis. We haven't really decided a number. We have had actually, one of the projects that we reviewed recently was in a commercial lot at Smart and Final, but that was our first EV charging station project, so we did do a site plan review on it. We didn't have this regulation prior to that. We did streamline it, but because of, parking stalls and all of that, we needed to review it. As for individual units, we have been allowing them to just pull a building permit, because it's not really something that's going to change the zoning of the area. But again, I would have to necessarily look at each and every scenario of what the location is.
And sorry, I cut it in.
That's okay.
And your building permits, is there the fee? Who has decided on the fee for the building permits?
The building permit is basically an electrical permit. It's like the same, based
Okay.
on valuation, yeah.
Let's move it back to Bernadette.
oh, actually, that was one of my questions, is the fee, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then going back to the checklists, I just scanned them real quick. So each of them has site map or site plan as a requirement. And so, if it is only for, if we're not requiring it for, residential, then, maybe there needs to be like an asterisk or something there.
Yeah, just to clarify one thing, we do have like the site plan review for planning, and then the building and safety site plan review. So if it's a lot of, like the Tesla one that we received recently, it was like a few of them, I think it was about maybe like 12, 15 charging stations, then we did require them to go through plan check, but it's not necessarily like a site plan review. It's just like for them to make sure that they comply with the building and safety. And then we have the site plan review, which in case somebody wanted to do like a lot of EV charging stations on a multifamily residential area, and it wasn't like a condominium complex, and we would have to actually take a look and make sure that they're not like violating any of their, regulation, like their conditions or anything from that specific development.
And then, my last question is the general question before we get, I don't want to get into discussion yet, but, with regards to the site plan, these, just for general, clarification purposes, is it required to have a specific, like an architect or a draftsman or engineer what qualifies as a site plan, like in this instance?
So, we haven't really received any multifamily, so at this time, I could speak on the commercial. So the commercial does require an engineer and does require an architect to draw the plans because there's several building codes that need to be met. As for residential, so if it's just like a single family, we're not gonna require that because it's just basically like a small, sometimes it's just like a plug-in, and then sometimes it's like, there's different types of EV.
Yeah.
So there's like the smaller one and then the bigger one, and that just requires a building permit. It doesn't really have to be an architect drawing up a plans for that.
Yeah, those are my questions.
So I have a question then. A lot of car owners nowadays, they run an extension cord and plug in their cars. So how do we, if she gets a permit for a station and then I run a cable, how do we track that and how do we enforce the new ordinance?
So in that case, there is an adapter that can be connected for that, like for a charging station. That doesn't require a permit for the adapter, but only for like the other EV. It would have to be on a case by case. Somebody complains, I guess, the way to track it, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, so we're all clear. Any items that are submitted to building and safety require an architect or an engineer to prepare the plans. I know what Jared said, unless it's an electrical permit, but building, that's the problem we run into. And this residential, if on the site plans, they don't have to be professionally drawn. But they run against the problem of submitting to building and safety, and you have to be a licensed architect, a draftsman working under an architect, or an engineer to draw plans. So if they require submittal to building and safety, they do have to have a professional stamped engineer or architect draw them up. But for residential, for a little permit for installing these EV stations for 1 or 2 units, no big deal, it's just electrical permit. But if we get into big, large commercial or big, large residential, like the 41 units, then they would need to submit plans and they'd have to be stamped when they get to building and safety. The planning side, we can work with them, but the building and safety side, they definitely have to have the credential folks.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. All right, with that, we will open up the public hearing. It is now 7:20. The public hearing is open. Are there any wishing to testify or to provide comments in this public hearing? Seeing none, it is still 7:20 and the public hearing is now closed.
Oh, no, I
Now
have
we're
a-
bringing it to council for discussion, for more discussion.
So I don't know if it's fine, but I would like this, just for clarity's sake, if it is a single-family home and they're trying to put that in, I don't want them to get confused that they have to get like a professional site plan. Is there a way that we can, if it's 1 to 2 units, because I guess my fear is that someone looks at this and they go, and from what I understand, site plans, if you go to a professional, can cost $1,000 or more, depending on, I guess, how the square footage and probably a number of components. But I don't know if that's something we can, include, that if it's one, then just so people don't get scared off.
I think we could probably put together a flyer, like, to inform the residents what would trigger a site plan review for electrical. Like I said, most residentials, they just need an electrical permit. They don't really need a site plan review. If it's commercial, if it's a bigger project, then yes, they would need a site plan review.
Could we put that on the current form that we have? Because it does say on there that they need it.
Yeah, we'll make a clarification to let them know that it's not like a planning, because not most cities do planning and building. Some of them just go straight to building. And this is a generic form that was gotten from the state, so it doesn't really clarify it, but we can definitely make sure we have the residents be clear on what we're actually asking. Yes.
Council, you could, if you wanted to, we could also, with the multifamily, just make it a building permit. It's not a big deal.
Well, I guess my initial thought on it was I did look at a couple other cities that adopted them. And for example, I think I looked at like West Hollywood, and they didn't have a site map or site plan listed as a requirement, and a few other jurisdictions didn't. And so, you know, I feel as though the movement from Sacramento is trying to get everybody on electric. And I do agree that the electrical definitely needs to be there, because from what I understand, the grid right now, or the power lines might not even be equipped. But that should pass through electrical. So that was is not being too cost prohibitive for, smaller units. I do know the big ones, you're using more electricity, you probably want to be a little stricter on the requirements, but for single family and, multifamily, I feel like it, if it's not something that's required by the state, I don't know that we necessarily need to require it as well.
I think Jared would appreciate just doing the buildings permit side, because it'd be less site plan, so we can make it as efficient as possible and work with all the folks on there. The one we did at Smart and Final, I actually reviewed. We just I did it for the reason was to address all the issues that are back there. So we thought it was a great reuse for that parking area in the back behind Smart and Final. So we did a quick site plan, and then they went through the building permit process. So there was over the counter. But with the residential, I can see your point about the folks coming in for the garage, where they're gonna put it in their garage, and I think we do just run them through for building permits, but we can make sure we don't include those, and maybe some of our existing multifamily, because they've come in too, and they've asked us to just be able to hook them in the existing parking stalls. I think the one over by, on 147th, I've worked with them as well. They did those over the counter, we did building permits, so I don't think that's a problem. I think we could just do building permits for those, and then the commercial require site plan review if necessary.
Yes, that we have been processing previous to this assembly bill. We have been processing them over the counter with building permits.
And they still have to do the electrical plan anyways to make sure that I'm not an expert, but the watts or the voltage is not it's sufficient to power.
On the residential, they provide a schematic, so there's no plans. They already get it from their contractor, so it's real simple. On the commercial side, though, like on the Smart and Final, they have to meet with Edison because they got to add to the pole. So yeah, but on the residential, it's a lot simpler. We can do over the building and safety only, and not make them go through planning. I think I don't think there's going to be an issue with that.
Yeah, I'd be in support of that. I don't know what my colleagues see.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion on it.
Well, just to clarify, I'll make the motion, but just to clarify, not requiring site plans for multifamily and residential, but definitely commercial and large-scale installations would require a little more.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion's been made by Suarez with those clarifications and seconded by Kearney. And the motion is that we adopt said ordinance. I'm going to ask the city attorney to read the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 1192-22, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lawndale, California, adding Chapter 17.104, electric vehicle charging stations, to Title 17 zoning of the Lawndale Municipal Code, and findings of exemption from CEQA. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the council please vote on the motion?
For item number 7, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, madam. Next item, item 8, is also a public hearing. A public hearing on the ordinance adopting a 2022 building, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, residential, green building standards, building code update. Let's have the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of the council. I'm going to help Jared out today. So every 3 years, as you know, the building codes are updated by the state. And so we're bringing these updates. I personally reviewed every one, my signatures on every page, which Councilman Kearney asked me why I killed all the trees. But
Yes, I did.
but I reviewed them. I helped Jared out. We reviewed every section. The biggest changes are in the plumbing code, substantial changes from the state. The only difference here, we don't have the fire codes. They're not ready, unfortunately. They're behind. And we don't adopt the county's green code. We adopt the state's because it's less restrictive on our residents and our businesses. This concludes staff's report. I'll be happy to answer any question you have at this time. But again, this is our standard. Every 3 years, we update those building codes.
Very good, thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions of the staff before we open up the hearing? Okay, seeing none, it is now 7:28. The hearing is hereby open. Is there anyone willing to provide any comments, testimony in this matter? Okay, seeing none, it is still 7:28 in the meeting. The hearing is hereby closed. Let's bring it up to the council for any discussion.
If not, I'll make a motion to recommend staff
Discussion on the
recommendation.
motion?
And you could read whatever you want to read.
I'd like to clarify the motion. As the city manager said, we do this every 3 years, and the California Government Code has a very odd procedure for this, which is different from the procedure for adopting a regular ordinance. So, the motion that I would recommend is that we introduce this ordinance for first reading by title only and set a public hearing for December 5th for the second reading and adoption.
Oh, 2 readings, okay.
That's
Yes,
what I
sir.
said.
Thank you very much, Councilman.
And I will second this housekeeping item.
So you guys, second, the clarified motion. It's basically me, it'll be back, right. Okay, any discussion on the motions? The council, please vote. Did you need to read it now?
After
Or
you
the
vote,
next time?
yeah, after you vote. If
You read it after we vote?
I'll read it now.
That
First,
seems-
sir.
that seems
Ordinance number
kinda different.
1193-22, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lawndale, California, amending portions of Lawndale Municipal Code Title 15 to update the uniform codes adopted by the city by reference by adopting the 2022 Los Angeles County Building, Electrical, Mechanical, Plumbing, Residential, and Existing Building Codes, and the 2022 California Green Building Standards Code within Title 15, and adopting local amendments to these county codes. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The council, please vote on the motion.
For item number 8, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, madam. Okay, item number 9. Request to authorize the sale of a cable television, video production van and equipment. For some reason, I thought we had already sold that a long time ago. When I read this agenda, I'm like, what, they brought it back? Okay, go ahead, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Staff just thought it would be a good idea to formally bring this item to you to get authority to go ahead and sell the vehicle. As you know, the vehicle was purchased in 2017. It's been sitting idle for over 3 years. We would like your authority to go ahead and move forward to sell the vehicle. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Really good. Any questions on this request?
So it says in your report, you believe to be over $100,000?
Yes.
We paid just a hair over $600,000 for it, 17, correct?
It was actually $569,000.
Oh, shoot.
It was almost 600.
Okay. So, okay, I just want to make sure we got our bang for our buck, and I hope it's way over $100,000.
I hope so too. We'll work with the finance department to make sure that it's valued at fair market value for sale.
And you also selling the video cameras too, correct?
Yes, because the cameras came with the vehicle, so there's 4 cameras.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Just a comment, generally speaking, I think with technology, it's very rapidly the newest comes out, you get like an iPhone or whatnot, and I think that's kind of what's been going on here, so we might want to look at, just for future ideas, possibly outsourcing to other companies rather than holding equipment, just because of how fast the technology progresses and whatnot. So it's really sad to hear, that it depreciated that fast, but, it's something to think about for the future.
Absolutely.
And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, can we take this on without objection, Mr. City Attorney? Okay, it sounds like we all agree that. For some reason, I thought we had sold this a long time ago. It was just sitting idle. Okay, so without objection, we're getting authorization to sell the cable television, video production van and equipment. Thank you so
very
much. All right, next item, city manager's report.
The local network wayfinding sign, Mr. Mayor, or item 11?
Which one? It says city manager.
Oh, city
report.
manager, okay. How about number?
Yeah, it says, yeah.
Oh, sorry about that, Mr. Mayor.
City
I'm
manager's
incorrect.
report.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
So moving forward, on the contract cities, I attended a week or so ago. I got an opportunity to meet with SCAGs and HCD. So they were up there with the city manager from Lakewood discussing, the RENA numbers that were imposed on all the cities. It was, a lot of folks were concerned with, the process. I got an opportunity to, mention the concerns that I've heard over the years here and, from other communities, including, Lawndale, such as the loss of local control. One thing that I did mention to SCAGs, when they met with us, I had to bring this up to them, that we couldn't figure out their criteria, how they came up with those numbers. They could never fully explain it to us. They admitted it was very complicated. And then HCD, I mentioned to them, the process, how long it took this time, and it was very onerous, and it's created a lot of issues for a lot of communities around Lawndale, in the South Bay, including Lawndale, because we held up our general plan update. So, I got to, mention that to them at the city managers forum. So they were, other city managers spoke up too. So that was interesting. Then there's some grant money available for soft stories for a lot of the home and multifamily units in Lawndale were built before earthquake proofing. So folks, if they're interested, they can access the state is offering grants out there for soft story reinforcement. They went over that. It was really good about how people can, with a minimal dollars, apply for grants and then retrofit their apartment buildings. Particularly the apartment buildings they demonstrated the ones we see like on Manhattan Beach Boulevard and Prairie, where they have the tucked under parking. A lot of those buildings are considered soft story buildings and they may not be retrofitted. So folks, business owners and property owners throughout the city can apply for these grants that are available. And a follow-up to one of our construction contractors, a comment from the community. We are working with them. I sent an update to the council. We're still working with them, getting the survey so we can finish all these intersections. This one contractor had several areas throughout the city, and we're still working through that process. That concludes my comments. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions of the city manager? Okay, yes, ma'am.
Is it possible to put it on our website regarding the grants for retrofitting?
Yes, we could put that in there. I have some handouts and let people know they can apply for those types of grants. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. City Manager. Next item, items from city council members. Let's hear from Councilwoman Suarez concerning the local travel network wayfinding logo survey.
So in a nutshell, the South Bay City's Council of Government is working on a South Bay local travel network, basically for, sorry, it's in the staff report, slow transportation. So for example, e-scooters and all that, trying to locate safe streets for residents and whatnot to use it. At this particular item, we're solely voting on picking a logo. There are 3. They had a design, so we're not actually voting on what streets or what we would identify as a as a map or area. We're only voting on what the signage would look like. If we have it in Lawndale, there's nothing been approved yet in the city. They simply asked me to bring it to the council to see which of the 3 logos that you like, and so then they'll put it to a vote with all of the agencies on the board. And I just will say my preference is the turtle.
Oh, so. Yeah. Tell you to slow down.
And that's it, yeah. We're just solely voting on a logo right now.
Mr. Mayor, if I may add for the councils, in my county days, we worked on wayfinding signs with cities and other regional groups. This is something that COG would be, this is a good bringing this forward. This is something that this fits their wayfinding. And again, I asked the COG staff, and this is not for approval of any signage in any city. This is just for the logos.
And the approval
Or
of
for any
those
streets.
routes would be at a later
Any
date.
routes. Or any streets or routes,
The approval
yes.
will be at a later date if we want, depending on our participation and what further study on it. So right now it's solely if there was a logo, which one we'd like. Turtle.
I like option 3, the turtle.
Well, option 3, yeah, it's the same one, right?
The turtle.
Yeah.
Well, no, the other ones don't have.
Well,
The other ones.
They're telling you to
the-
slow
Yeah,
down
no
some
turtles,
other
it's only one with turtles, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good visual.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the turtle.
Okay, well,
I like turtles. You like turtles?
can we just do consensus here?
Yeah, we can do,
Okay.
yeah, we can do.
The
consensus
turtle
on
then.
this one. Yeah, we like turtles.
And there you go, we like the turtle.
It better be on a wide enough street, is that turtle's it's not gonna make it because we have some narrow streets in Lawndale. So that's all I can say. Okay, thank you for bringing that forth. Okay, now we had city managers, the mayor and city council members report of any meetings, anything they'd like to share. Let's start with Councilman Pat Kearney.
I did not attend anything these past couple of weeks, but I want to wish everybody a happy Veterans Day. And if you haven't already, please buy a flag for our Field of Honor and support the people you remember. And also, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, because we will not be here, a city council meeting before Thanksgiving, so everybody have a great Turkey Day.
Seems like that's a long time.
And yes, definitely see our Field of Honor. It's really beautiful if you get a chance to go over there and take a look. It really hits the heart when you see I don't know, it gives me goosebumps every time I see it. And thank you to staff for organizing that. I didn't get to mention, but the Halloween event, I agree with everything that was said. Really popular, super excited for our angel tree to see what comes of that. And then I did get a chance to attend on the 3rd, the South Bay Work Investment Board 27th Annual Award Ceremony. And we had the pleasure of having 2 residents that went through the program and were able to secure permanent jobs, Catherine Alcantara and Daniela Ramirez. So congratulations to those 2 residents. And then I just wanted to congratulate our neighboring city, Olivia Valentine. I think she's Mayor Pro Tem right now. Congratulate her on she received a prestigious award. She's not running for re-election, but I did want to say, having worked with her closely, to congratulate her on being recognized. And with that, I'll pass it along.
Councilwoman Cuevas.
All right. On 10/29, I attended Supervisor Holly Mitchell's Family Wellness Resource Fair at Alondra Park. She gave away diapers, wipes, hand sanitizers, and there were various LA County information booths on health and wellness resources. Some of those booths would also like to participate on our wellness, on our pet fair and pet and health fair. Very informative. Thank you, Mike, for the Halloween event. Thank you and the staff. It was great. I know we had possibly over 2,000 people maybe, because I gave away 800 lollipops. So whenever they leave here, they head over west on 147th. So that's how I know how well it's attended, because they head over to the west. So it was a great event. Haunted house. I'm in next year if you need help. So we need a haunted house. I also attended the Homeless Solutions Subcommittee with Bernadette. And last Saturday, I attended the House of Yahweh 40th year anniversary celebration. And on behalf of the city, we presented them with a commemorative plaque for their years in service. They started on Buren, I believe, and 147th, and now they are on Marine, and I don't remember the other street, but it's one block west of Prairie. I got a tour of their facilities. They do great work there. And if you have to donate clothes, if you have clothes to donate, I recommend you take it to them once a month. Male or female, they're welcome to go by and get clothes from their thrift shop, and it's all free. They also give baskets of food. I believe they said it's about 300 to 350 per week. It's not, I just walk in and I get a basket of food. You have to register and show proof that you are in need. But it was a very nice event. Last thing, happy Veterans Day to everybody, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing, don't forget to vote if you haven't voted.
Thank you. Madam Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 19th, the mayor and I attended a Zoom call with our friend Janice Hahn pertaining to Metro, and found her very supportive of Lawndale and understanding of the concerns that we have in pertaining to Metro. And then on the 21st, the mayor and I both attended a Metro Zoom with Metro Board member Fernando Dutra and his Deputy of Transportation, Marissa, who absolutely understood, both of them, coming from smaller communities, the concerns of Lawndale. So far, I would say that of all the Metro voting members, they have heard us. It's not to say that they're going to vote in our favor, but I think the mayor and I both probably feel that we have been heard.
Yes.
And represented Lawndale so far to these members on, I don't think up until this point had an idea why Lawndale was opposed, and I think we answered maybe some questions that they have. And then on the 22nd, Councilmember Cuevas and I attended the West Basin Water Harvest.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that one.
Yes. We sure did. I just want to remind residents that this Thursday, the 10th, in honor of Veterans Day, our City Hall will be closed. And like the other council people before me, I want to remind residents to come and purchase your Field of Honor flags. Those will be available for purchase through tomorrow only. So if you have plans, please come by tomorrow to the finance department to pick up what you need to do so that your loved one can be honored on our wall. That was it.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. So this past weekend, I attended the annual Mayor's Cup, which is a football game played by Lou Zinger. Olympians versus the Hawthorne Cougars. And of course, as always, Lou Zinger's up, Cougars down. Lou Zinger brought it in 54-0. So, and I can't remember what it was last year, but it was something similar to it. And I learned, I didn't know this about high school football. I assume it's just germane to high school football. Apparently, you can run the clock out, right? If a team is so far ahead, there's no way the other team can catch up. I didn't know that was even a thing till last year, right? Whatever you. And so that's what happened again this year. So, congratulations to the Lou Zinger once again, and I assume we're going to do it again next year, right? So, congratulations to the Olympians. I also attended, like I said, the Halloween hunt. Once again, I thank the staff for the Halloween hunt. Very nice event. I did attend a meeting, I participated in a meeting with Holly Mitchell, our supervisor, Holly Mitchell, Metro, in her position as being a Metro Board member. I was joined by Councilman Pat Kearney. Thank you for sitting in on that meeting. Supervisor Mitchell was very interested in what we had to say and what our concerns are with the project, with the Sea Line Extension project. And she vowed to speak to her colleagues about such. We underscored the importance of having a trench if for some reason they select going down Condon, that we absolutely insist on a trench. That concept wasn't foreign to her because the K-line, as part of the K-line, the new K-line that was just dedicated is trenched. And so it's not a foreign concept. And so I was actually glad to see that was trenched, right? So that they can't, pretend like, oh, it's never been done before. I don't know if we can do that. Right? So she agreed that that it would be advantageous for them to trench it. She did make a commitment that it would be trenched, right? But she definitely acknowledged it and definitely understand our issues. And not only just Condon, but also the Hawthorne Boulevard as well, and the properties that would be affected on Hawthorne Boulevard, should they choose that option as well. So it was a good meeting, and we will continue to meet with the other board members as well. And with that,
I have one more thing.
okay, well, let me conclude this. The Field of Honors, we mentioned that, so don't forget to buy your flags and come out, even if you are not purchasing the flag, if you can come out and take a look at all the flags and read the tags on the flags to remember our heroes. Veterans Day is first, right? Happy Veterans. That's coming up first, right? I didn't realize we wasn't here for Thanksgiving, but happy Veterans Day is coming up, and happy Thanksgiving, since we won't be here until then. And that's all I have. Yes, ma'am.
I have an add-on. I wanted to ask the city if we got a flyer today from Holly Mitchell's office pertaining to a job fair. I would like to see if we could put that link on our website for residents that might be looking for any of those positions.
Mr. Mayor, Council, not a problem, we can do that.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, with that, we don't have a closed session, but we do have an adjournment. We do want to adjourn, and a couple of folks, members, so do the adjournment.
Yes,
Yeah.
tonight, upon adjournment, I would like to request that tonight's meeting be closed in honor of two longtime Lawndale residents. The first one passed away on August 14th. Roy Combs was a lifelong Lawndale resident, and he never left. He and his son Ron ran independent drywall in Lawndale for over 40 years. He was a kind, gentle man that his family will always remember for his larger than average heart. Mary Combs passed away on October 25th. Mary was a fun-loving lady that could often be seen with her hair the most beautiful shade of purple, quick to smile, laugh, and give a word of encouragement. That's how I choose to remember my friend. Mary served our community by being on the El Camino School Board. She believed in the education and the betterment for the lives of those of us that called her neighbor. Roy and Mary have 4 children that grew up in Lawndale: Deborah, Dana, Ronald, and Sean. 16 grandkids, 25 grandkids, and 8 great-great-grandkids. On behalf of the City of Lawndale, I would like to extend our deepest condolences to the family and their loved ones.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. We will adjourn in their memory. I knew both Roy and Mary. Okay, with that, I guess I should read this. The City Hall will be closed on the next regularly scheduled meeting date. Therefore, the next regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, December 5th. Okay. In the Lawndale City Hall chambers. That sounds from a long time. Okay. It is now 7:52. This meeting is adjourned.